Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring to you a video on the best Malzeno weapon builds, the ultimate dragon meta. This video explores the best build for the Malzeno weapons, and Malzeno weapons are the most powerful dragon weapons as of its release date, at least damage-wise. For those of you about near Gigante, yes, we're going to talk about that in another video, but here we have the reason why Malzeno is so dang good is because it brings Vital Dragon and Malzeno Crimsonblood, two super meta skills correlated to dragon that enter the dragon meta and shake up the strongest builds. So if you want the strongest builds, these are it. And if you really want them, you should play the ticket event or hunt Malzeno as much as you can so that you can get hopefully the best materials that it can drop, like the rarity 6s and the rarity 5s, and you could build and make these ultra powerful dragon builds. Alright, first we're going to start off with the best Malzeno melee builds data, as we compare the top realistic dragon melee builds as of Season 7. As we see here, Malzeno Crimsonblood 3, Vital Dragon 3, and Pursuit 5 is the best dragon build combination. This is taking into consideration Pursuit will activate for 65%, which is a realistic time frame with no part break. So Pursuit can still work, as long as you are able to break said part. The thing is, the more damage you pack on, the easier it is to part break. And then after you part break, if you have such a huge advantage like you see over here, that's why it's so dang high. If you look at the second best build, the second best would be the Blood Cloak Resuscitate build. So you're going to go, you either want to go for, hey, damage to Oblivion, or you're going to deal with the new Blood Cloak mechanic Resuscitate, which isn't bad. But here's the thing. If you look at the difference between both averages, the Pursuit one does 10% more, which is a noticeable difference. So unless you really want to deal with the Blood Cloak mechanic and deal with advantages, and you want pure damage, then both aren't wrong, but one will do more damage than the other. Moving on, we have those melee builds I'm talking about. We have the best Malzeno melee build at number 1, where it maxes Vital Dragon, Malzeno Crimsonblood, and Pursuit. This does the highest theoretical damage at 6496 and 4967 without Pursuit active, a little lower than Dragon Attack 5. However, this assumes a 65% activation rate for Pursuit. But that damage is so high, it can make up for the longer break due to the lack of part break. So even if you don't have part break, as long as you break one part, even if it's only for half of the hunt, or a little over half, it will still measure up to such a high average just because this build does so much damage. That's the thing. So high damage equals, you need to break a part to do damage anyways, and then that boost from Pursuit will literally carry you to the highest, which is insane. 6496 is insane for a melee build. For this build, you need the Malzeno weapon, melee weapon, at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it. You need the Malzeno helmet at grade 8, the Espinas mail at grade 8, Rothian Van Braces at grade 6, Malzeno coil at grade 8, and the Malzeno greaves at grade 8. Next up for the Malzeno melee builds at number 2, for the best we have a build that maxes out Vital Dragon, Malzeno Crimsonblood, and Blood Cloak. This does the highest theoretical damage overall at 5710. While this assumes that Resuscitate is active at around 80% of the hunt. Even if you jot it up a little bit, it's still not as high as the theoretical one for the highest one. But again, this is if you want to use the Blood Cloak / Resuscitate build, as this will give you Resuscitate 4, which gives you the highest boost you can naturally get without drift smelting. For this build, you need your Malzeno weapon at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Malzeno helmet at grade 8, the Malzeno mail at grade 8, Malzeno Van Braces at grade 8, the Gold Rothian coil at grade 8, and the Mizutsune greaves at grade 6. And last but not least, for the melee builds, we have at number 3 for the best Malzeno melee build. This build maxes Vital Dragon and Artillery, and this build is specifically made for the Malzeno Gunlance. It is made to hit Worm Stake Shot and spam charge shelling at maximum power. So Stake Shot, charge shelling, reload, Stake Shot as much as you can possibly do it, because you want to inflict that dragon elemental weak damage, especially since we have Vital Dragon 3 here. For this build, specifically for the Malzeno Gunlance, you need the Malzeno Gunlance at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Malzeno helmet at grade 8, the Pasarios mail at grade 6, Beethoven's Fan Braces at grade 6, Betelgeuse coil at grade 6, and the Basarios greaves at grade 4. On to the next one, and we have the best Malzeno bow builds data as we compare the top realistic dragon bow builds as of Season 7. As we see here, there are 3 builds that are very close to each other. However, the lowest average build actually takes the top when you factor in drift melts, as the Rajane coil does not have a drift melt slot. It is also the most consistent. The problem with Rajane coil, even though you get 3 levels of focus, unfortunately you cannot drift melt into it, and with the new Charge Master Drift Smelt we have, you slot that in. One extra slot means a whole lot when it comes to builds. But again, all three of these can work. It's just really up to your preference. Me personally, I'm going for the one that's most consistent, which is the bottom one, because I already have Charge Master smelted in to 3 of those pieces. So it's really, again, all 3 of these work. It's really up to you how you want to do it. Alright, first up for the best Malzeno bow builds at number 1. This build maxes Vital Dragon, Malzeno Crimsonblood, and Focus. This has a highest theoretical damage overall at 6,075. However, this does require Pursuit to activate. You are also dealing with Blood Cloak as well, so it's a weird dynamic. You don't get a damage boost for Blood Cloak, but it is a strange one. Our focus here is provided by the Regen Coil and the Paluma Mail. Again, you're not getting an increase with Blood Cloak, so you're going to deal at the same time, but this is mostly here just for the overall damage. For this build, you need the Malzeno Bow at grade 8 or grade 10, or as high as you can get it. The Malzeno Helmet at grade 8. The Nightshade Paluma Mail at grade 8. The Malzeno Van Braces at grade 8. Regen Coil at grade 8. And the Malzeno Greaves at grade 8. Next up for the best Malzeno Bow builds, for number 2, we have a build that maxes Vital Dragon, Malzeno Crimsonblood, and Blood Cloak. This does the second highest theoretical damage overall at 5990, however you must deal with the Blood Cloak mechanic. This does max out Blood Cloak though, so you are getting that damage boost, and it is going to be something, once you get used to it and deal with it, might actually be more effective than the other two when you get really good and skilled with Blood Cloak. For this build, in order to make it, you need your Malzeno Bow at grade 8 or grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Malzeno Helmet at grade 8, Malzeno Mail at grade 8, Malzeno Van Braces at grade 8, Regen Coil at grade 8, and the Gyrototus Greaves at grade 6. And last but not least, when it comes to the bow, we have the best Malzeno bow build at number 3, where the build maxes Vital Dragon and Focus. This does the lowest theoretical damage overall at 5729, however, this is the most consistent build out of the rest, only needing Fighting Spirit, which is the easiest to activate and maintain out of the rest of the conditional skills. So you don't have to deal with Blood Cloak, you don't have to deal with Pursuit activating, you literally just need to blam bam bam, blast blast blast, and like I mentioned before, with Drift Smelts, this will actually be the top build. Not just the most consistent, but top build. It's because of the fact that you can slot in 5 Charge Master slots into all 5 pieces of this build. For this build, you need the Malzeno Bow at grade 8 or grade 10 or as high as you can get it. The Malzeno Helmet at grade 8. The Pink Rothium Mail at grade 6. The Gyrototus Van Braces at grade 6. Malzeno Coil at grade 8. As well as the Gyrototus Greaves at grade 6. And finally, for the last of the weapon type archetypes, we have the Bowguns. You have light and heavy as we compare the top realistic Dragon Bowgun builds as a Season 7. Light Bowgun and Heavy Bowgun. Heavy Bowgun obviously does more damage than Light Bowgun just because of the way the ammo works. But as we see here, there are 2 builds that work very close to each other for each one. For both of the Bowguns, it really comes down to whether you want to take on the Blood Cloak mechanic or not. However, it's also important to note that the Light Bowgun only requires reload speed 1 and recoil down 3. While the Heavy Bowgun needs both max. That's a cool fun fact for the Light Bowgun, allowing you to create a bunch of crazy and powerful builds for specifically the Light Bowgun. Alrighty, now we have the builds. Starting off with the best Malzeno Light Bowgun builds. At number 1, we have a build that maxes Vital Dragon, Malzeno Crimsonblood, and recoil down. It also has reload speed 1, which is the most optimal level. This does the highest theoretical damage overall at 5273. However, this requires Pursuit and Fighting Spirit to activate. Thanks to jotting it down to reload speed 1, you can slot in 3 pieces to max out Malzeno Crimsonblood. For this build, you need the Malzeno Light Bowgun at grade 8 or grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Malzeno Helmet at grade 8, the Paluma Mail at grade 6, Brutigrex Van Braces at grade 8, Malzeno Coil at grade 8, and the Malzeno Greaves at grade 8. Up next at number 2 for the best Malzeno Light Bowgun build, we have a build that maxes Vital Dragon, Malzeno Crimsonblood, recoil down, and Blood Cloak. It also has the most optimal reload speed at level 1, with the second highest theoretical damage overall at 4817. However, you must work with the Blood Cloak mechanic, so if you're good at working with it and you want something that's going to go bam 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 boom boom boom, because it's actually pretty easy to manage, because all you're literally going to do is sit here and blast it to death because you have that reload speed and again 2 sets of piercing ammo. For this build, you need the Malzeno Light Bowgun at grade 8 or grade 10 or as high as you can get it, Malzeno Helmet at grade 8, Malzeno Mail at grade 8, Malzeno Van Braces at grade 8, Puke Coil at grade 6, and the Corinne Greaves at grade 8. And now that we're done with the Light Bowgun, we have the Heavy Bowgun. At number 1 for the best Malzeno Heavy Bowgun build, we have a build that maxes Vital Dragon, reload speed, and recoil down. You need both for the Heavy Bowgun to be most effective. This does the highest theoretical damage overall at 4566. However, you need Fighting Spirit to activate, which isn't that hard of a requirement. For this build, you need your Malzeno Heavy Bowgun at grade 8 or a grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Malzeno Helmet at grade 8, the Palumu Mail at grade 6, Boot Tigrex Fan Braces at grade 8, Malzeno Coil at grade 8, and the Azoratlos Greaves at grade 6. And lastly, for the Malzeno Heavy Bowgun builds, at number 2, we have a build that maxes Vital Dragon, reload speed, and recoil down. This has the second highest theoretical damage overall at 4477. However, this also requires you to handle Blood Cloak at only level 2. You're not going to be able to get to level 3, unfortunately. That's just the way the Heavy Bowgun works, unless we have another piece that gives you reload speed 2 and recoil down 2, which probably will never happen. Maybe, knock on wood, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But this is what you need if you want this build with Blood Cloak. If you want to deal with Blood Cloak, just use the other one, the number 1 one. And we have this build where you need Malzeno Heavy Bowgun at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it. The Malzeno Helmet at grade 8. The Malzeno Mail at grade 8. Basarios Fan Braces at grade 6. Coral Puke Coil at grade 6. And the Azoratlos Greaves at grade 6. Hopefully this video helps you decide which Malzeno builds to use. I'll be making a separate video to highlight Malzeno versus Near Gigante builds, especially when it comes to the Super Bows. Of course, those of you that went to Shibuya, or those of you that have maxed out Near Gigante weapons, y'all have a rightful place to be mad. However, hear me out here, it's not that bad that these came out, so we're gonna make a comparison. I'll do that entire another video, but yes, for those of you that don't like the fact that this came out, I do empathize with you, I really do. With that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Build videos always take a ridiculously long time to make because I have to put the data together. I have to make sure the data actually makes sense and then pump a bunch of numbers, etc. So again, please, I would really appreciate it. Good luck on your guys. I really hope you are getting your Malzeno drop sooner or later. You had a fantastic Malzeno event and that the future ones after this event are going to be so much better and much more improved. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.